Hey, it's Whitney from EcoVeganGal.com and welcome back to What a Vegan Eats, and this is another video about kombucha. I received a lot of great feedback from my very first video about kombucha for the series, so I'm inspired to keep going. I have so many brands that I want to talk to you about, brands that I have loved for a while, and new brands that I'm going to try. Well, I haven't come across a new one since I did my last video, but I did want to talk about one of my favorite go-to brands, which is called Bucha. And I'm also going to answer some of the questions that I received from the last video and give you more of a background on kombucha, why I personally like it, why people believe that it's good for you, and a little bit more history about what it is. So let's just begin with that stuff and then I'll jump into what this is. All right, let me pull up my notes. I have a lot of detailed notes here because I don't remember all the facts off the top of my head for you. So number one, kombucha is a fermented tea, and people believe that it's been consumed for over 2,000 years. So very long time. It's been primarily found in Japanese, Asian cultures, in general Chinese cultures, and Russian cultures, I believe. I think all over the world, Europe as well. And so it's been a big beverage, and a lot of the beliefs about the health benefits have come from all that time. I feel like it has this holistic connection and background. Kombucha is not something that would be used medicinally through Western medicine, but Eastern medicine tends to really lean towards it and likes to use it to cure some ailments. But of course, none of the findings have been evaluated by the FDA yet. So nothing that I'm going to say here today is something that you should trust completely outright. I believe that kombucha is very safe, but if you're ever concerned about something, it's always a good thing to run it by a doctor or somebody that has a medical background, which I do not, and neither does the person that I gathered a lot of this information from. But kombucha is also something that's really widely accepted now, which is so wonderful. Over the past probably 4 years, I've started to see it pop up all over the place, like I said in the last video. It really started off in cafes, like raw food cafes, back when I first moved to Los Angeles about 10 years ago. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. But that I found out about kombucha probably about 8 or 9 years ago in a raw food cafe that I was working at, and it slowly started to pick up, like all the natural grocery stores, co-ops, and Whole Foods carry it. You can find kombucha really easily at Whole Foods all across the United States. And as I said in the last video, you can find it in liquor stores, you can find it in all sorts of cafes, even gas stations are starting to carry it. So even though it hasn't been evaluated by the FDA for health benefits, it's something that people are just enjoying for the taste of it. And personally, that's the main reason why I like kombucha. I love the way most kombuchas taste. As I said in the last video, not all kombucha is created equally. Each brand and each flavor is a little bit different, and it's always kind of a nice surprise. And also, as I mentioned, from batch to batch, kombucha can differ. In fact, when I get to talking about one of probably my top kombucha, which I don't have with me today, but I will bring up in a very soon video, it's funny because it's made in such small batches that almost every time I have it, it tastes slightly different, and I love it because it's just kind of like a new surprise. Oftentimes when you're dealing with the bigger companies, the bigger brands, the kombucha is pretty much the same across the board, every experience. So another thing that's important to mention that some of you had a question about was the alcoholic content. Now, because kombucha is a fermentation process, as I've mentioned, it does have a very small amount of alcohol. Just like if you were to leave apple cider hanging around for a while, it would start to turn alcoholic, and that's how hard cider is made. And kombucha is the same thing, but it's so small, I think it's about 0.5% in most cases. But I've also learned that when you add a flavor to kombucha, and the kombucha I'm going to talk about today has a flavor, a lot of companies like to add in things like tropical fruits like mango, what's another popular, like grape and strawberry and raspberry, all the different berries. When you add that in, there's more sugar, and that causes more of a fermentation process and therefore a little bit more alcohol. Most companies are really aware of this now, and they often label it with a warning. You can get very low alcoholic kombucha. I don't know if alcohol-free kombucha exists or if that's possible. But you can find more information on each brand's website, and the company I mentioned in the last video, GT's or Synergy, which is kind of like probably the most well-known kombucha brand in my opinion, they actually have different labels. If there's a black label on it, I believe that signifies that it has more alcohol than the white or clear labels that they use. But you can find more information. Just check it out on their websites because every brand is going to differ. But just so you know there, that's the case. The other thing that people have asked is about it being carbonated. I mentioned in my last video that I personally love carbonation, but not all kombucha is going to have the same amount of carbonation. Some kombucha is going to feel really, really fizzy, and some's going to feel a little bit flat, and again, it can vary from batch to batch. But what's important to know is these are naturally carbonated. So because it's natural, it actually feels and tastes different from when CO2 is added, like it is to many beverages. So your body may react to the fermentation or the carbonation within kombucha differently than it would from, say, a soda. So if you don't like carbonated beverages, I still recommend giving kombucha a try, and you can always just leave the cap off of it for a little while and it's going to go flat, which I think still tastes pretty good. As far as ingredients go, the main ingredients within a kombucha is just water, tea, sugar, and something called the SCOBY. I believe it says SCOBY. It's not Scooby, I know that. SCOBY, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. Some people call it the mother, or else the culture, the baby, the mushroom, all different types of terminology. But SCOBY stands for Symbiotic Culture of Bacteria and Yeast, which doesn't sound so good, I know. And when you see it, actually, let me show you this. I actually have a little mother growing at the bottom of my apple cider vinegar, which even says right here that it has the mother in it. And it's kind of gross. It's not the most attractive thing, but when you start to love kombucha, you kind of grow a fondness for this, and if you ever decide to brew kombucha yourself, you're going to get this big fat SCOBY, and I think it's kind of fun. I've been meaning to put up a video about making my own for a long time. I've experimented with making kombucha several times over the years, and I will try to get up that video as soon as possible. But you won't usually see a SCOBY. Most brands, like Bucha, for example, don't have any pieces of the SCOBY in there. But a lot of the kind of smaller brands or like the purist brands, you'll still find like little pieces of it floating inside. It's totally fine to consume. It's just going to be like a little jelly. So you might, if you don't like that texture, it might be a little weird. But don't let that stop you, okay? It's really not that bad. Two other things I want to bring up. One is that if you're brand new to kombucha, you might want to begin slowly because it does have a detoxifying effect on the body. So they say to drink 4 to 8 ounces on an empty stomach twice a day. So start little by little. That's not very much. It's like half a cup to a cup. This is 16 ounces. I would say most kombuchas are about 16 ounces, and I could drink the whole bottle in one sitting. It doesn't affect me much. And as far as detoxing effects, your stomach might feel a little weird. You might need to go to the bathroom quickly. You might feel like a really strong burst of energy or get maybe like I don't know if you would get a headache from it. I'm not sure about the symptoms, but if you feel different or weird from it, you might have just had too much at once. So lastly, I want to talk about some of the possible health benefits of kombucha. And again, because they haven't been evaluated by the FDA and probably will never be, it's very hard to know for sure. As far as research goes, this is information I gathered from a very trusted resource. My friend I've mentioned, Hannah, who runs the site Kombucha Camp, which I will link down below, is an authority on kombucha. This is all she does. She's the most knowledgeable person that I've ever met on kombucha. She lives in Los Angeles. She teaches classes. She sells products. She's got so much information on her website. And she's, of course, gathered this from all the kombucha brands. She knows everybody in the kombucha world. So I think you should connect with her if you're starting to get more into it. So I found most of these facts from her website, and I wanted to read off to you the possible benefits of it. So the number one thing, as I've mentioned, is that kombucha is detoxifying and it can improve the efficiency of your digestive system, which boosts your immunity. So that's why your stomach is going to feel a lot of effects, and it can also prevent you from getting sick. It has a lot of probiotics in it, which are healthy bacteria. So that's something that you would find in a probiotic pill or a yogurt alternative. So kombucha is a nice source for probiotics. I wouldn't say to be the only source of probiotics, but it definitely has a lot in it. It's also very high in antioxidants, which, as you probably know, destroy free radicals that can cause cancer. So thus, it's also can prevent cancer in some ways. It's very alkalizing, which balances your internal pH. It can detoxify the liver, which can directly affect your mood and make you feel a little bit happy and uplifted, which is why I think probably one of the main reasons I like kombucha. It makes me feel good. It can increase your metabolism, rebuild connective tissue, which can also help with arthritis, asthma, rheumatism. It can alleviate constipation. As I mentioned, it affects your digestive system a lot. I'm having trouble talking for some reason. I'm so excited. It boosts your energy and therefore can help with chronic fatigue, can reduce what is going on? Can reduce blood pressure, relieve headaches and migraines, improve your eyesight, reduce gray hair, heal eczema, which you can actually apply this topically right on your skin, which is pretty amazing. I've never had to try that before, but I love that fact. It can speed the healing of ulcers, can help clear up candida and yeast infections, and can lower glucose levels, which prevents spiking from eating. So a lot of really great benefits from this healthy elixir. And again, you want to have this as part of a healthy lifestyle, so eating well, getting lots of exercise and sunshine, and doing a lot of things that make you feel good mentally. I feel like kombucha really fits in there. So now that you have that well-rounded background, let's quickly talk about this brand that I love, Bucha. I actually discovered them about a year ago at Natural Products Expo. I've seen them on shelves, but for whatever reason, just didn't get into them. But when I tried a few of their flavors, I deeply fell in love. This is one of my go-to brands, and they're pretty easy to find. And there's two flavors that I absolutely love. Today, I have the guava mango, which is phenomenal. I think this is really good if you're brand new to kombucha because it's so sweet. It tastes more like a soda than it does a kombucha. And so this is kind of one of those drinks I like to have in my fridge when I just want something just kind of sweet to have around and something carbonated. And I'll kind of sip on this throughout the day. Sometimes I like to have this with meals or right after a meal instead of a dessert to help curb my sugar cravings. With a brand like this, I actually don't know too much about the specific brand. I'll have to look into it a little bit more. But sometimes when a kombucha tastes really sweet, I wonder about the process because some companies add in sugar during the process, which you have to for the fermentation. Some brands add in extra sugar afterward to make it even sweeter. I don't believe Bucha would do this because they seem to be more focused on the medicinal side, but it's very, very sweet, so perhaps just the natural sweetness of guava and mango makes it so heightened there. But that's one thing I recommend is to do some research and find out which companies are sweetening it. Another neat thing is that you pretty much have to brew kombucha with sugar, with raw cane sugar or I don't know, there's a various different types that you can use, but you can't use things like stevia or xylitol. I don't believe xylitol, I'm almost positive you can't use stevia. It's very particular because it's an actual growing organism, and I don't think the process works with the sugar alternatives. However, some companies are starting to add in alternative sweeteners like stevia after the kombucha brewing process to give it that sweetness flavor, and I'll talk about those brands soon. But that's something that I recommend you paying attention to because with sugar being part of the fermentation process, most of it is eaten up by the bacteria and the yeast process. But when it's added in after the fact, your body is going to be more affected by it, and thus you're going to have all the same issues that you would with a soda. And of course, I recommend not having too much refined sugar. So just being aware of the process, the companies that you're choosing, not just going by taste, but actually going by the knowledge, And I will get back to you when I find out more information about Bucha, but I feel really good about it. I know Hannah loves this company. I spoke to the owner, really great people, and they just seem to be really passionate about it. So I recommend this brand. Check them out. I'll link the website down below. And I still haven't learned anything else about the Scoby Baby company, which I still have the bottle right here. And one person seemed a little bit concerned about not knowing much about it, but the fact that they were in a grocery store that I trust made me feel comfortable about buying it. That's another thing is going to buy products in general, where you buy them, who owns the store. Knowing this information is going to help you make informed decisions, and never be afraid to go talk to a manager, talk to anybody in the store who seems knowledgeable. That's how you're going to find most of your information. Thank you so much for watching. This has been 15 minutes about kombucha. I hope you learned something. Keep letting me know your comments, your questions down below, and I will talk to you soon. Lots more about kombucha and many more recipes and journal-style videos about food to come. You can find more information at ecovegangal.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and the main Eco Vegan Gal channel, as well as all the other channels that I have, which are linked over at the main channel and on the Eco Vegan Gal website. You can also follow me on all the social media networks, where I'm always chatting about healthy, eco-friendly living. Thanks so much. I love hearing from you, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.